That was not. Thought that was Facebook. That's not anyone.
Twitter is live. Twitter is live.
Twitter's live.
I would imagine that LinkedIn will not.
Facebook is live.
Facebook is live. It's a new month. So
LinkedIn is working.
oh, LinkedIn's working. Great. Okay, just got that. Okay. So it looked like we're streaming properly. All right, we're about to start the Gillmor gang. Everyone's in a place. Dennis is doing something. I have no idea what. Okay. All right, here we go. Mute is off. I'm gonna turn my phone to silent. Everyone else can send out your invites or your follows or your anything if you have that. And here we go. Mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3.
Okay. 3.
Mute is off, and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and.
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor gang. Joining us from Seattle, Washington, or thereabouts, is Michael Markman. Welcome, Michael.
How do you do? Here I am in Seattle or thereabouts.
What's the weather like?
Not a cloud in the sky, unlike the photo behind me.
Oh.
Blue, sunny. It's going to get up into maybe the high 80s today.
Ooh.
Okay.
We've got nothing but clouds here.
From the Atlanta, Georgia area is Brent Leary. Welcome, Brent.
What's up? I was going to share something, a Facebook memory that popped up for me today with the audience, but because the host does not allow mere panelists to share their screen, I just had to drop it into the chat because it's really cool. It's a picture of Dennis Pomerantz standing in front of or by the side of a sign that says Brenton Point. For those who don't know, my full name is Brenton, so that's why.
Was he pointing, though? Was he pointing?
Well, the look on his face, he wasn't really, didn't appear to be all that excited about being at my point, but, you know, the picture was taken.
My point is I do have one.
And I do have a point now. It's apparently.
What was the year that this photo was taken?
It's got to be about 7 or 8 years, right, Dennis? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's within the last 10. But this is proof positive, in case anyone was ever wondering, that Brent has a point.
Okay, and that guy is Dennis Pomerantz. Welcome, Dennis.
Greetings. It's Bretton Point is part of Newport, Rhode Island. It's out there in Narragansett Bay. It's very pretty. And it's probably around 85 degrees there right now. It's about 94 here.
Oh.
I should go and visit my point. It sounds like I should make a royal visit or something.
I think you should. Give you the keys to the city or the keys to the point.
Good point.
Joining us from London, England, is Frank Radis. Welcome, Frank.
Hello, Steve. Hello, gang. I'm a little worn out. I just finished watching this absolutely insane Netflix movie that just took me from the very beginning with its incredible action, horrible violence, and its creativity. It was unbelievable. Did you see Carter? What we're talking about?
Yeah, it was brutal right from the giddy up.
But I mean, I sat there watching from the very beginning for the first 6 minutes and said, "Oh my God, are they ever going to make a cut?" It was like the whole movie looked like one long tracking shot. It wasn't, but it was unbelievably well done and creative, and literally the bloodiest movie I think I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, that's it.
I'm kind of surprised I watched it because the very beginning, there's a bunch of naked dudes with knives running around killing each other, and I usually don't go for that kind of stuff. you know, but no.
Oh, it was hard.
Did you read about the Italian runner who accidentally forgot to put his
Yeah.
underpants on before his race?
Well, and as a good friend of mine, Vince Manzi, another co-Italian, said, it's because he's Italian.
He's only 18. The kid is 18. So he just put his shorts on and ran. And of course, he's clearly a well-endowed young man, because in the final stretch, as he was sprinting, his started to dangle. So he had to slow down and hold it.
Yeah, the final stretch, so to speak.
Well, you're,
Exactly.
and that guy with his comprehensive analysis of everything on the internet simultaneously is Keith Cheer.
Pleasure to be here on a fine Sunday in Palo Alto, where it is not 94 degrees. I'm guessing it's about 70. Very pleasant, blue sky, a breeze in the air, and feels good.
May I ask a question, Keith?
Yes.
Did the runner finish?
The runner finished last,
Last.
but he did finish. But, as we all say, real men always finish last.
Yes.
I'm hoping this segment finishes real quick so I can come back, because this is, yeah.
Let's just say he performed well in the final stretch.
Brent, for gosh sakes, Brent, it's sports.
This ain't the sports I'm used to talking about, buddy. I'll tell you that right now.
It's the agony of defeat.
I think we're gonna have to watch this one, Steve.
No, we're not
Oh,
going that way.
Way.
I think. Look, Brent, we can
It was
talk you.
moving
We
right
can talk
along.
you. We can talk
Steve.
you through this anxiety you have with talk about naked men. We
I'd
can deal with it together.
Rather just move on to whatever the topic is.
Actually, Brent, you were the first one to bring naked men up.
And I'm trying to be the first one to get the hell out of there. Man,
Listen, in all fairness, there were also naked women in that scene.
just a few, not enough. I can't believe I just said that on. Anyway, moving on.
Move along.
I'm not touching this with a 10-foot.
Yes.
8-foot Hungarian.
I'm not.
Didn't. I was going to make.
Please don't ask me my opinion.
This would make for a great sneak peek. That means no sneak peek, because I just
Yeah, thank you.
there it is.
Well, you know what? That was a double, because he was trying to kill the sneak peek because he doesn't want to be in it. So I think by definition, try
What
and
is
kill a
it?
sneak peek. You can't.
No. Keith is doing some kind of weird jujitsu sneak peek move here.
I think we've expired the duration of a peak a long time ago.
Yeah.
No,
Shows
we've
up-
had-
we-
Twitter Blue enables us to go like
There's
5
nothing
minutes.
sneaky about this. This is overt.
Yeah.
So what do you
Overt
think?
peak.
How many people use Twitter Blue?
Just two.
2 out of 7,
Who's the other?
about 28%.
And why do you use it?
Because I hoped it would help me get rid of ads and zoom into the stuff I most care about. Plus, I thought they might ship some features that they'd give to Twitter Blue people first to test out.
So, given the debate over TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, ... Why would you think that anybody's going to have a solution for giving you what you want without knowing who you are or when you're going to click?
This is my eternal optimism about the human race. I'm absolutely convinced somebody, somewhere, sometime will understand me.
Okay, paging Joe Manchin. So, where do we start?
Finish
Well, just to-
introducing.
Oh, I've got
everybody.
one. I've got one for Frank. What do you think of Zaslav's moves on HBO and the Disco Bros?
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, I actually thought from the very beginning that his move would be to consolidate all of the disparate digital assets into one hub.
For those of us playing along at home,
thought,
can you please explain who
Yeah,
Zaslav is?
okay, so David Zaslav is the CEO of Disco Bros, which is Discovery Warner Brothers, the new company that also owns a whole bunch of digital assets, including CNN.com and Discoveries.coms and all of their channels, which have .coms, and HBO Max, which is probably of all of them, the single most successful and profitable one. My sense originally was that everything would combine. That made sense when he killed CNN Plus. My thought was, oh, that's going to combine with whatever Discovery is in some kind of hub, along with all the other Warner Brothers assets, and that he would separate all of that, put all of that together, but separate HBO Max and leave that alone. I thought that he would do that. When he chose to combine HBO Max into the hub, it struck me as odd, and I don't think really good for the brand. But I guess time will tell. There's a couple of other things going on out there also, and that's the what's happening with DC Comics and their fight against the Universal, the Marvel universe, and all of that. There's just a lot of stories going on. I don't think it's a great idea. Personally.
I saw a slide that made its way to Twitter that said that HBO skews male, they skew towards scripted programming, and Discovery skews female with a lot of unscripted programming, the Food Network, and so forth. And that he thought the combined network would be able to appeal to everyone.
Well, I mean, that's his theory, and I guess they're sticking to it. And it makes a certain amount of sense, but I still felt that even if you took all of those other assets and put them together, they weren't as strong, as powerful, or as profitable as HBO Max. But you know what? I guess, like I said, only time will tell. I remain cautiously
some of his other moves were financial, because he basically killed and wrote off a whole bunch of stuff for a tax write-off and to kill off any
that Batgirl tragedy. Yes.
Well, there is a whole a story going around out there that he's going to cut back on production of original content for the internet sites as a way of saving money. He's firing a bunch of people. There's a lot of that going on at that company, and incorporating people that he's had at Discovery for a long time, falling into a lot of these Warner Brothers roles. And then there was this big announcement that he's doing a lot here in the UK, and so he's as an EMEA project. So it'll be headed up in the UK, but it'll run all of the European, Middle East, and Africa properties. So there's that also. So where is the money going? Maybe into that bigger, broader global expansion.
So what's the? I mean, this sounds very inside baseball. What's the impact on people on the internet or watching scripted television?
Well, we don't know yet, but I'll tell you what I'm worried about. HBO has had a remarkable string, beginning with The Sopranos, of developing shows that are cultural landmarks and just absolutely riveting. And I wonder if that's in jeopardy. I mean, continuing all the way through Wired and all the way through Succession and Mayor of Easttown and the Perry Mason revival and so forth. I wonder if that will continue.
Oh, the new Perry Mason, it was pretty good. Actually, I think that is something to worry about. But, one of the things that I keep thinking about is the Warner Brothers studio itself is one of the biggest suppliers of content to everyone else. So it's not unusual to see a Warner Brothers production not only be on HBO Max, but also be on NBC or ABC or CBS or Netflix or wherever. So it is a behemoth that is feeding the animal out there big time. But I agree with you that That's why I thought it would be a good idea not to put HBO Max into the big bundle and to keep it separate. Although I'm a fan of the bundle, keeping it separate would allow it it would almost force it to continue to make such great creative that it's had in the past. I'm a little concerned about that.
I think the real game is content led. So I kind of agree with you, Frank, that the best content in that whole collection is HBO's. I don't really care too much about the HBO Max brand, but I do care about, Westworld or, in my case, Gillmor that I watch on it and a bunch of other stuff. There's a lot of really, really good content. And I think Apple TV has shown that the overarching brand doesn't matter as long as the content is absolutely awesome. And so you're probably only going to get one monthly payment from a subscriber. So you got to figure out how to use your content and your brand to get the biggest check you can from your subscriber. And so he's got all these different assets, which separately, they'd all die. Apart from HBO, I think they'd all die. Like Max is part of HBO Max. I don't know the last time I watched something that was contributed by Max. Almost everything I watch is contributed by HBO. So somehow or other, he's got to put something together where there's one thing that you pay for, and there's enough in it that you will keep paying every month for 12 months to keep doing it.
That's a great point. It's funny over here, you're likely to see things from Cinemax and HBO on Now TV, which is a Sky channel on the internet. So it's their version of like Sky Plus. It's called Now. And I think all of those assets are going to disappear from Sky TV /Now because of its relationship with Comcast and NBC. And so people over here are now all of a sudden, you're talking about now the global impact of this. People over here, if they want to see that stuff, are going to have to go and buy the Discovery the Discovery Warner Brothers Disco Bros bundle because they.
What I noticed today is Sky Movies. I watched the soccer this morning on VPN from Sky, so I saw all the ads. Paramount Plus is now being given away free with Sky Movies, and I think that there's some shifting sands there. I think ultimately Sky is Peacock in the US because it's the NBC Comcast bundle. And Peacock here has the soccer as well, which is no coincidence, I think. So I think what's happening is it's a whole bunch of everyone's consolidating around their core assets. Comcast and NBC is one, and Sky's part of that. Paramount, interestingly, seems to be not able to stand alone in other markets. Here in the US, it does, because it's got the whole Star Trek franchise, which probably is its biggest asset.
It did have CBS television.
Yeah.
So,
but CBS television, I don't know. I don't know about you. I don't think I ever watched CBS television for its own sake, but I do watch, let's say, Star Trek Discovery or whatever. I watch shows and I almost don't care what they're on, and I'll pay the sub for the thing they're on, unless they don't have anything I want to watch for a long time. Then I think about canceling.
So that goes to me to the idea of an Uber search engine for internet content, an Uber search engine for internet video content.
Well, that's Roku, Apple TV, Google TV, Android TV. That's what they are really. They're search engines that bundle everything, and you pay for a piece of hardware. And in the case of Apple, they have their own service on it as well.
Well, yeah, but you have to pay for a service. So you got to pay the full price for Apple TV, or the full price for Amazon, or the full price for Apple or Paramount, full price for all of those, regardless of whether you're watching them or not. So there's a box sitting there, and you're paying full price for all of these services, and you might pick and choose one thing to watch. But I think that the ultimate end game here is that you only pay for what you use. So if I'm watching on my Uber, I'm dreaming here, and I'm it's blue sky, but I've got my box and it's attached to all these things, and I watch Discovery, the Star Trek Discovery once. I pay for it once, and then when I'm not watching it, I'm not paying for it. The problem with it is that you're still paying all of those individual prices for that one thing. I think that's an old model, and I think that model is going to change.
Well, I don't know how it changed.
I agree with you from a viewer's perspective, but that complaint goes way back to early days of cable. People said, unbundle the cable. Let me pay for the channels I want. I don't want 500 channels. I watch 12. I watch 5. Let me buy the 5 I want.
Yeah, it never happened. It's a la carte.
Yeah, well, so I'm with Michael, which is I want what you just said to happen. In fact, I would even like the creators who make stuff to be able to stream it, so without selling it to an aggregator, if you like. But I don't think it's going to happen, because I think these guys have got so much power, and the model we're in now with Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Google TV, those are the big four. There's no incentive to unbundle that stuff. I don't know how it's going to happen. I wish it would happen.
Well, that's why I was saying I was just dreaming. By the way, I want to remind you.
Yeah, you did say that. But the only way it could happen is if some awesome content maker didn't sell it but streamed it direct. It's a bit like musicians, right? But even there, I think you're locked in. Like, I've just started listening. I just realized that Apple iTunes Music now has lossless 192 kilohertz music, which you can't play unless you have a very specific device. And they have 96 kilohertz and 48 kilohertz. So they have top, like analog quality digital files now. And I bought this $199 box that you plug onto your Mac, and it plugs into your speakers, and now you can stream this very high quality music. And I'm thinking, well, why doesn't Apple TV, why isn't it capable of playing that lossless music? And then I suddenly realized, well, it will. That's the next thing that's coming.
Yeah.
Because all these
and then they'll buy Tidal, which was one of the first companies to start out with a higher quality audio.
Jack Dorsey already bought it, though. Oh, yeah, he did.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. There you go.
So, this dream of just paying for what you use, if you roll back time all the way to 1974, Ted Nelson talked about a hyperlinked world in his book, Computer Lib and Dream Machine. And he imagined this hyperlinked world which had micropayments built into it, so that the person who wrote the thing would get some bit of money from the person who read the thing. And it would all be linked that way on a very granular level.
And now we're talking about blockchain and NFTs, because that is the solution.
And the funny thing is that model is not dissimilar from the model that the music licensors use to pay people who write music and will, regardless of where it gets played, not talking about how much they get paid, but regardless of where it gets paid, it somehow ends up in the pocket of the writer.
Some of it.
That's what I said. I'm not talking about all the money. Having been on the other end of that, actually on both ends of that scale, I know how that works.
I think you can judge the age of any platform by how many layers there are in the stack that take money before you get the money. And in the case of music, there's a lot of layers in the stack.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of music, because the systems grew up so early, they were really hand cranked, and they required a whole lot of people keeping track of things. Jockeys had to write down every song that they played and turn in their logs. And
that was only 10 or 12 years ago when that actual physical writing that stuff down ended. Because as I was leaving NBC, that was the end of that era. And it was crazy. We would get calls from BMI or ASCAP asking us, well, we heard that this music played on the Today Show this morning, but it wasn't logged.
So
well, at the same time that you were supposed to log the music you used, they had listeners and viewers who were also double checking that the logs were honest.
In That Was the Week this week, I put this story from Pearson's sales report, and Pearson used to own the Financial Times, and they're one of the world's biggest educational publishers, and they're very, very old-fashioned, very print-based. And the CEO announced that he wants to use blockchain so that when a student buys a digital book and then sells it to another student who is coming up to the year when they need that book, they want to get royalties every time the book changes hands. And to do that, they figured out that blockchain is the best way to do it. And they put basically an identifier within every book so that when it changes hands, they get their share of royalties on the resale. So suddenly you buy a book, but you actually don't own the book. You only own it for your own use. And if you sell it, they get a piece of the action. So
wait a minute, where do they get the money from? From the poor schlub that sold it?
Yeah. The recipient has to sell it using a wallet. And when the money comes in, not all of it comes in. Some of it goes to Pearson. Yeah,
but then there'll be an entire black market of selling school books under the table for cash.
Well,
are these digital? Are these digital books or
digital? Yeah.
Are they trying to work it on print-based as well?
No, it's digital. There's a company called Perligo that works with all the college campuses on digital books, and there's also the US one. I forget the name now, but it's well known. And so basically, up until now, you sold a digital copy, and that was it. And it was like an ebook, and you could do what you want with it. Now they're building in ownership management, let's say. Well, it was an idea. He haven't actually done it yet, but his idea is to build in ownership management and use the blockchain to track subsequent sales, which of course could work for any digital media.
So I have a question. Has anyone figured out how to get around the DRM in the blockchain?
There is no DRM in the blockchain. It's different. It's encryption based. Well, I guess it's a kind of DRM, but it isn't traditional DRM. It's done differently. I think this is what NFTs eventually will be used for, not for drawings of monkeys, but for tracking digital assets ownership.
By the way, actually, I get that. Actually, I get that. I grok that.
I was just gonna say there's quite a bit of comment activity on Facebook from one of our regular buddies, Ian Waring, but also Francine Hardaway and wait, there's another name that was popping up there. Now I'm not seeing
Eric Schumann.
Yeah, that was the other name. Lots of interesting commentary.
Could you share some?
Let's see. Ian Waring, Napster was
only on the blockchain.
Sorry,
not available.
Napster was good for every artist except for the top 5 at the top 5 labels. Yeah, I you know what? Yeah, if you were already killing it, then you didn't really like Napster. But if you were like, an unknown, you probably got a little bit more out of it than somebody who was already well known and already killing it.
Yeah, well, the music industry didn't follow up on what Napster was all about fast enough, did it?
No, well, they were afraid of it because it was too disruptive. Did I just say disruptive?
You did. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be a little bit more disruptive. And I would love a straight up yes or no answer to this question.
Ooh, calling a poll.
I'm calling for a poll. Yay or nay?
Okay.
At this moment in time, are we not in a recession based on interest rates are up, inflation is up, but unemployment is down and job creation is up? And if you look at these big tech companies, They're still killing it. So
Oil and the oil business.
and gas prices are down. All right. So yes or no, currently today, are we or are we not in a recession?
Okay, Frank,
No.
audio, please. Thank you.
That means no.
That
No.
means we're not in a recession.
Not in a
Just
recession.
a visual cue is not acceptable.
Well, I said no. I added.
You're okay. Keith is not okay. Michael's not okay.
Okay.
No, Michael
We
said
are
no.
not in a recession. Am I okay now?
Yes, you are.
It's
Thank you.
two.
Does anybody think we are in a recession?
No, that's not an
Republicans.
answer to the- Keith, can you answer the question? Yes or no?
We are not in a recession. And by the way, inflation is down most recent numbers.
That's
Okay,
three.
Dennis, an audio cue, please.
Yeah, no, no recession. Not gonna do it.
That was like a cross of Von Meter
And George Bush.
and George Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
Well,
prudent.
that's what happens when you're in the Boston area and you try to do George Bush.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
Okay, so Brent, you asked the question. What's the answer?
I don't know. I was just asking you guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
what a
nice
cop-out.
try.
Well, I mean, what
Let's
is
see what happens the next time.
Well,
that
wait a
Brent
minute, Steve,
do
you
a
didn't
poll.
answer. What about
Yeah,
you,
wait a minute.
Steve?
You didn't answer it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone, it might have been Dennis put up Krugman's column from last week in the Times about how the Republican talking point of inflation seems to be evaporating. They were. You posted that, I think.
I did.
Yes.
It's early yet.
Posted it.
It's early yet. And I still want Brent's answer, please.
By the way, Francine said no. Ian said gas prices are rigged, retail pricing based on futures pricing, not input prices. I don't know what that means in terms of yes or no.
It means that it's a derivative market based on futures, not current prices.
Yeah, that doesn't say yes or no. That's
Yeah,
what I meant.
much like your answer.
Well, I haven't really given. I don't think we are at the moment, but I know that there was a part of the technical definition was two straight down GDP quarters, which I think we did have, but we also had inflation go down to 3.5 and 528,000 new jobs created. So I would say no.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Well, I have another
Never
flash
was.
poll.
Even Kansas doesn't want to be in Kansas.
After we get Steve's answer, I've got a flash poll.
Oh,
Ah,
yes, we are still waiting. Tina, yours answer too, by the way.
so, I'd actually like to know if there's an exact definition of recession.
I'm
What's
sorry,
the
Keith, that's
criteria?
not an answer.
I know it's not. an
Okay,
answer.
so what's the answer?
I'm not gonna answer it if I don't have the exact criteria. I mean,
Well, that's the issue here. There was a traditional answer. Someone mentioned 2 consecutive down quarters in the GDP,
right.
and so if that is, the strict definition, if that's your criterion, then we're in a recession.
But it's
But
not a
frankly,
strict
you don't
definition,
really
it's a rule of
get to
thumb.
measure that until you're out of it, because all the numbers aren't in instantly. So what's happening now seems much more complex than that rather simplified definition of what a recession is. And I think that's why everybody here is voting we're not in a recession.
We've
I
had
think what's
times-
happened.
we've had times where the GDP has been where the GDP has been low or dropped for 2 consecutive months and still not have been in a recession. So
Right.
I would say that it's important to think about the specificities of the post-COVID world economy and the post-Trump world economy. The trade wars that were initiated prior to COVID and COVID have all impacted supply chains. And we live in a global world, clearly, where we're interdependent, totally interdependent on each other. By the way, there's a great Orville episode this week that's all about interdependence and global.
Love that show.
So recession normally pertains to decline in manufacturing and therefore hitting GDP due to cyclical problems with capitalism. What we have here is not like that at all. What we have here is geopolitics, trade war, disease impacting trade, and now the Ukraine situation. So this is not like the economy is messed up. This is more the world is messed up and is impacting the economy.
Well said. Very well said.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a more simplified way to say it is that we appear to be rebalancing the economy from goods back to services. When COVID started, we transitioned away from services to a degree to products, to hard products, which ultimately caused a manufacturing crisis and a supply chain crisis. As we go back to that, we're really trading one kind of demand for another, which is keep doing strange things to the GDP, but keeping the rest of the economy, the real economy, out of a real recessionary, out of a recessionary trend.
So that sounds like, one thing goes away and another thing goes up. And so, when you also talk about services, I thought that during COVID, there was an increase in the service economy. And that obviously was, whether it was things that supported working from home or things that supported the kind of atmosphere that caused Amazon to have big upticks because of so many people ordering hard goods through the service of Amazon. So there was like a couple of things going on at the same time, one of which seems to be going down, and that is that kind of service economy. Although there was a story today that broke that talked about how Uber was way on the uptick, and so was Airbnb.
Well, when you talk about services, I mean, there are the services that were supported by isolation, like home deliveries and Zoom. But then there was a whole bunch of in-person services that suffered, restaurants,
Exactly,
travel,
stores,
hospitals. So
and I think, Michael, you're right, and I think on balance there were a lot more services that were suspended or taken away from the economy than were provided. Even in healthcare, we saw the hospitals get flooded with COVID patients, but the most lucrative part of the hospital is the OR. And elective surgeries.
Absolutely. I mean,
elective surgeries went to hell in a handbasket.
Except for the ER, lots of people just wouldn't go to the hospital during COVID. I certainly was one. So elective surgeries got postponed, and minor things. Well, we do some telehealth here. I'm not going in.
Right.
Too many people relied on Google doctors.
That's right. I went back to the, when I was a kid in the playground, you get it, you get hurt, you just rub some dirt on it.
I hear a lot of you using the past tense with COVID.
That's true.
That's interesting. Why?
I'm not.
Why are you saying during COVID?
You're right.
You're right.
COVID isn't over, but the COVID isolation and the COVID contraction is over.
The COVID economy.
The COVID economy. I mean, the people are going out more. People are pretending it's over, and part of that is because it's not as severe and life-threatening, because now we have therapeutics, we have a fair amount of vaccination, we have some natural immunity going on. So while the case levels are up and deaths do keep climbing, we're not in the same kind of emergency that we were in the first couple of years.
Sure.
But just like at the end of World War II, there were Japanese soldiers who fought in places for a long time because they didn't know the war was over. There are many people who don't agree that COVID is over and are still acting as if it is the same as it was at the beginning.
Well,
because the fear factor.
Dennis, finish your thought.
I would just say yes. We're still getting more than 100,000 new cases a day nationally. However, new cases is declining in the single-digit percentages, which is a good thing. The other thing is that the variants that are around right now seem to be less pathogenic, less lethal than the good old original stuff, in part because of their nature, but also in part of what Michael was saying about therapeutics and vaccinations.
So if you were Dennis, if you were to assess the impact on the world economy of COVID versus the Trump era trade wars, how would you weigh those two, now and over the last couple of years?
I think that is first of all, that is a box of Gumpian chocolates.
Well, yeah, you are my Gump.
Golly. But
I thought I hear that said, but
I think when you talk about trade war, you're talking about something that's relatively easy to distinguish and understand. If you have a trade war, you raise a tariff, rational actors in the economy make a decision about whether to buy or sell, and at what price, and that's end of story. With the pandemic, we could still say everybody was a rational actor, but the rational actor thing got pushed way down to the bottom of the population, and so you and I were rational actors deciding whether to buy a gym membership or to buy a Peloton, versus Donald Trump saying, okay, we're going to slap 100% tariff on Chinese iron or steel.
Yeah, which we paid for.
Which we paid. Yeah. So
It's
I'd say
interesting.
I mean, there are aspects of COVID that I think we're still just getting a handle on, specifically long COVID. The things that affect people on a long-term basis, a chronic basis, past the acute, fever and coughing and lung congestion. I know some people who are suffering from it, and I'm sure there are many more that I don't know that are having just lingering effects in terms of their stamina and their mental acuity.
Sure.
Yeah, there are other signs of long COVID that are popping up all over the place. Skin problems, not just respiratory problems, other types of things that you wouldn't expect. There's more coming. I agree with you, Tina. It's certainly not over.
I watched sorry, I was going to change the subject.
If I could just make one last point, it occurred to me the other day that if you really wanted to have a small impact of COVID on the economy, what you needed to do, it's too late to do it now, is to get everybody vaccinated, because the disruption of not going to work is proportional to the number of people not vaccinated and able to spread the disease. So it's too late to do anything about that now. But as a future-oriented thing, it bears a lot of commentary, I think, and future analysis.
Well, I think that's a good segue to one of our other favorite topics, namely politics.
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons we didn't have everyone vaccinated is because some political factions found some benefit to avoiding vaccination and to labeling vaccination as some kind of left-wing plot.
I have a poll.
Yes.
It's a political poll. So is that all right, Steve? May I proceed?
I don't know if I can learn how to actually speak into the microphone. I'll let you know.
Okay, well, you figure that out, and I'll go ahead and move this forward just for a second. So the poll is, so Biden has been winning a few times these last few weeks. That you could go back to the infrastructure bill, but look at the big bill that's going to be passing through the Senate pretty soon. Look at the jobs report, all the things that we talked about in the recession story. Do we think that Biden is going to be helped by the current political climate? Yes or no?
Could you explain what you mean by be helped?
So
Will his approval numbers go up?
Yes. Will his approval numbers go up enough to make it matter? At least to be noticed.
No.
Will his approval numbers go up? Who said no?
His approval numbers will not go up, but that's about him, not about, I think the Democrats showing will improve though.
That would, well, that's another poll. That's about November. But okay, so that's one vote. Keith says no.
I think that his approval numbers will climb, but not a huge amount, and that's what it is. I mean, I somehow his brand is pretty baked. Once a brand is baked, it's very hard for people to change their opinions.
Yeah, we know that.
That's 2 votes.
Okay.
You've also got gas prices going down, and even though he doesn't control that, a lot of people think that. And so I think that there's a little bit of, I don't know what you'd call that, goodwill being spread.
So there is some goodwill. What people believe about the president reflects what they believe about the world they live in. If you think things are bad, that reflects on the president. If you think they're good, that does reflect on the president.
So Tina, what your answer is?
I tend to agree with Michael. I think his approval numbers will go up a bit, but not.
Okay.
Maybe not significantly, but I think enough. But to me, it lends. I would start thinking about another question.
Yeah, we're not going to do another poll until we finish this one.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Brent.
Yeah, it'll help him out a little bit. I don't know how much, but can't hurt.
Dennis.
I think I agree with everybody. I think what we're iterating around is the definition of a dead cat bounce.
Yeah.
Well,
drop a dead cat from high enough, it will bounce. So what we're kind of angling towards between now and November is how many of these dead cats can drop.
Well, they got 9
Because we'll
lives.
see
Right?
it go up a little bit every time.
Yeah.
Well, and remember, Biden is not on the ballot in November. So the question is, what will accrue to the Democrats locally and congressionally? That's what is on the ballot in November.
Frank, what's your answer to the first poll?
I think you'll get a little bit of a bounce, but I don't think it will matter enough. It's exactly what Michael said. What matters maybe will be what will it affect November.
So when you were fashioning this poll, were you looking for what we've got here, which is a little bit?
No, I wasn't looking for that, but I agree with that.
Okay, so what were you looking for?
Yeah, it'll be great for him, and it'll help the Democrats.
Okay.
The thing that'll help the Democrats the most, I think, is the result of the pro-choice vote in Kansas is a signpost to a deep belief in the American people in what you could think of as humanist goals, looking after each other. I think guns and abortion are such huge issues that the Republicans are having to react to. I saw on the Sunday shows today, there was the Republican from Charlotte, the woman who said she got raped as a 16-year-old, who is pro-life, but acknowledged that her own colleagues were way out on a limb. And I think those are really defining issues. As long as the economy keeps getting marginally better between now and November, I think they've got to double click on guns and abortion. And I think the bill that's going through the Senate this weekend is important as well, but more for secondary reasons. I don't think that's a transformative thing in terms of election results, but I think abortion can be. But then you got to make it the issue. It's got to be an election about that. Didn't Indiana put a pin in that?
Put a pin in that how?
didn't they vote to, or didn't they basically shut down all abortions in the
Yes,
last couple of days?
yes, that's the legislature.
Yeah.
So the difference is that Kansas was a referendum.
Vote. Yeah, it was a referendum. I understand, but still, it seemed to me like, wow, that story didn't get as much coverage as I thought it should have.
Well, it's a very heavy news cycle with everything going on with Al-Zawahiri and the Votorama, the jobs numbers. It's hard for anything to get a lot of attention. But I tend to agree with Keith on this. If you go back about 3 weeks, the Democrats were already hitting abortion and guns.
Yeah.
And the Republicans were going inflation and gas prices. Well, suddenly the Democrats' issues are still salient. The Republicans' issues are less so.
Right, and there are actually more Democrat issues too, such as the 1-6 committee. I think there's probably a cluster of 4 or 5 issues that the Democrats are comfortable in right now. They include things we've talked about, like abortion and guns, and 1-6, and the economy, and climate. The climate bill also includes some good stuff for prescription drugs.
Yeah, except for what Sanders lost out on.
Yeah, but you know what? All of that together does what any single issue won't do, which is provide momentum. And I think the momentum is with the Democrats right now.
Well, they have to go out and talk about it. They need to. Their advertising needs to focus on it. There's a lot that they need to do. They haven't been doing. I mean, honest to God, if I heard one more story about that crazy CPAC in Texas, I was going to throw something at my TV.
Oh, really? Steve's got it on in the background.
What, a TV? Yes, I do.
CPAC. It was. I saw Trump talking there. He was keynoting.
Yeah.
No, the mute button is my friend.
Well, but I think Dennis is right. It's bigger than just the January 6th committee. I mean, polling shows that at least with Democrats and independents, concern about democracy is a fairly high issue. It's something that is part of what the Democrats will talk about. In fact, I think the Democrats may have too much to talk about. So the question is how they're going to focus their message.
Well, it's not a national election, right? It's an election in the district. So the Democrats have enough to talk about in the district for what the district cares about. There's 435 districts.
Yes.
33 states with senators up.
Well, I think of all
but
these.
that's still national. I think you have to start looking at the state legislature level and at the local school board level. That has to be part of the picture as well.
Yeah, but the loudest noise this past week and month, for that matter, is I agree with Keith. It's the message sent by Kansas is going to trump a lot of these other issues that are based around personalities. Is Dr. Oz, ... We don't care. I mean, we care, but we don't care that it's going to have an effect. What we think.
Is there going to be a debate in Atlanta or in Georgia between the two Senate candidates? Is that really going to happen? Brent, have you heard?
I haven't talked to Herschel lately. So
last time you talked to him.
Well, you talked to Raphael.
Yeah, me and Rafi, we haven't talked either. I would guess not, because it would be ridiculous if that were to take place, because we all know what Herschel Walker is going to be sounding like if that debate took place. So I just don't see it happening.
Well, he doesn't do debates. At least the last time I heard.
Well, yeah, but not a politician either. So.
Yeah, but didn't he just invite a debate? Didn't that just happen?
Did you hear that invitation? That was not an invitation to a debate. I don't know what the hell that was.
I didn't hear it. All that I saw was what I read, which sounded like he invited.
That's the problem with headlines.
Yeah,
he did say something about a debate, but apparently
he said Herschel Walker said, I accepted an offer to debate Raphael Warnock on October 14th in Savannah in front of people. I don't know what the hell that means, man. Is it going to be a football game?
Well, there was
Wearing a uniform. I don't know.
What I read was that was one of the issues, was that it could either be in a television studio, not in front of an audience, or in front of an audience at a venue.
He wants to go to Athens, Georgia, and relive his Heisman Trophy year.
And do it in a football stadium.
Yeah, and have like all of the UGA alumni there cheering them on. That's just ridiculous.
Okay, quick poll. Just yes or no.
No. Oh, sorry.
Will Trump announce his candidacy before the midterms?
Ooh, good poll.
Well,
No.
I will if it,
No, I'm a no.
Okay, good. That's one.
I
don't
don't know
think
too.
so.
There's a good reason for that. No.
Yeah, I'm a no also.
I'm
Dennis?
waiting, Michael.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's not an answer.
None
I
of
know
us.
it's not an answer, but
None of us
to
know
me,
what
it's-
the future will bring.
To me, it's
It's
a
an
knife
opinion.
edge. It's not at all clear to me what he'll do. So
Well,
I could flip a coin and tell you what the coin says, but I have no idea.
Think about
Okay, so I'm going to modify the poll.
Dennis,
The two answers are, I'll get there. The two answers are no and we don't know. So you're in the we don't know
I'm
category.
in the we don't know.
Okay,
You also
anybody else
can-
in the we don't know, like Dennis?
No, I said no.
I'm sticking to no.
Okay.
Even though
Anybody other
What about you,
than,
Steve?
Not Steve.
what about
Yeah.
him?
What about him?
What's your vote?
What are you
I
talking
don't
about?
know. I'm in the we don't know candidate. I agree with Michael's assessment, which is everything could come down to Trump's ego, and I'm frankly hoping that he jumps in as
Wait a minute.
soon as
Everything
possible.
could come in the.
Yeah,
does it-
no, I'm talking
could,
about in terms of the
will.
answer to the poll.
Oh no, I'm usually on the fence for this stuff, but I'm going out on a limb here.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like Tina Marie. Anybody knows that reference? Maybe Frank. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to say
Love her.
he is not going to announce beforehand, because that kind of takes some of the mystique out of it. He doesn't want to come out ahead of it, and then what if it bombs? What if the Republicans have a terrible night? Then they're going to be blamed on him. Nah, he wants to kind of come in after the fact and have some mystique. He wants to raise the bar, the specter of it, but not give it away until after the
I love Jim Armstrong on the chat says the question should be, will Trump announce before or after he's indicted?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't know if you watched the CPAC poll.
hang on a second, please. We're
He,
not
he
done.
went up 10 points in the CPAC poll compared to February.
What a shot.
Yeah, let's not forget where that was and who they were.
I know, but they were the same people who were there in February.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he went from 59% to 69%.
So Tina, what's your answer?
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask a question before I answer.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can. So before, don't you mute me. So for those of you who said no, why, and I heard Brent's answer, what's the benefit to him not announcing?
Because
Yeah.
I think the main benefit to him is whatever happens in the midterms, he needs to use as fuel, and he doesn't know what's going to happen yet. If the Republicans do really badly, he'll be the white knight for them, and if they do really well, he'll claim credit. And anything he does before that is prone to being wrong. And he's a chicken, right? He's not gonna put his neck out too early.
I agree, but I think you were.
One more. Is there an outcome in the midterms that would make him not announce?
No.
Indictment?
Yeah.
Dream on.
All right.
So
I'm
answer,
gonna
please.
say no, he will not announce.
Okay.
I haven't given my reason yet, but I basically agree with Keith. I think in this Trump is very much like Teddy Roosevelt, whose daughter Alice once said that he wanted to be the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. And Trump doesn't share.
Well, Francine makes.
Does anybody know this? Are there rules, regulations on how he can use the money he's raising that kick in when he's officially a candidate that don't apply now that he's not a candidate, but raising money to make America great?
I heard that the large pot of money that he's been using freezes, and that he can't use that anymore, and that he falls right into the whatever the laws are that relate to campaign finance. And the second thing is the interesting point that Francine made, and that is that one of the reasons why he might decide to do it is because it could conceivably stop the indictments.
I don't think standing stops the indictments. He can't, the indictments will not be impacted by him standing. But I think, look, do any of us really believe there's going to be indictments strongly? I think there could be, but I think it's less likely that there, I think it's likely there won't be. So
I think it's impossible. I think it's impossible to say that there won't be an indictment somewhere. The state of Georgia is investigating him with a grand jury. The state of New York is investigating him with a grand jury. The feds have a grand jury. The 1-6 committee is churning, and they're going to have more hearings in August. It's inconceivable that there won't be some kind of backlash against Trump from official quarters.
Well, let me say something different. Let me say this. I hope there isn't an indictment, because I think the generally positive canvas the Democrats are sitting on top of right now would be hugely undermined by the distraction of an indictment.
Oh, I disagree. I think there's a huge body called the base of Trump supporters that isn't going to be influenced no matter what. That base is nationally smaller than the majority. In individual states, especially red states, it is the majority. So I think it goes on. I think if you're a Dem, if you're in office, if you're in power, and you're staring at facts and law, and the facts call for an indictment, there's going to be an indictment.
Yeah, but then you martyr him. I mean, the January 6th committee, in my head, is kind of like an indictment, except it isn't a legal indictment. But I think that's rendered him unelectable. I don't think he can get a majority. I think by taking it to an indictment, the variables change a little bit in his favor.
I don't think they change much. I don't think they change appreciably. I agree with you that he is now unelectable. But he's only a martyr to the people who already think he's a martyr.
That's right.
He plays the victim every time he opens his mouth, and he's got people who say, yeah, poor you. But most of the country does not say, yeah, poor you. I think an indictment will be widely cheered.
If there is no indictment, and an indictment is called for by the facts and the law, then Trump has succeeded in cratering our democracy.
Yeah.
Democracy. If the facts and the law say this is an illegal happening and it has to be indicted, and we don't do it, good night, nurse.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that would be true, Dennis, but my estimation, this is just my estimation from what I've seen, and I haven't watched everything, but my estimation is they haven't actually made a case that would pass muster in court that he is legally liable for January 6th. Therefore, most likely an indictment would fail. Yet right now, they have done such a good job by association of making him responsible, which is obviously a much lower bar than a legal indictment. I think that's good enough, and I would move on.
You have to recognize that there are at least 3, possibly more crimes, any one of which he can be indicted on.
Yeah,
I agree with you that connecting him as the cause of the riot is the highest bar to reach. But defrauding, I think it's a very clear chain that he has been defrauding based on the fake elector scheme. I think there's a very clear chain that he has been in charge of all these shenanigans. I think there's a very clear chain that he tried to interfere with a proceeding of the United States. As to whether he caused the riot, there are some dots that haven't been filled in yet.
Well, I think, Michael, what you've just described is a RICO prosecution, and it's my belief that when the dust settles, Trump will be facing some form of RICO.
All right, so I just want to remind you that the question in the poll was whether he was going to run for president prior to the midterms, which I think has much more to do with the outcome of the assault on democracy than whether he's indicted or not.
Oh, I thought we already answered that one.
Yeah, I agree.
He looks at this as a
5 to
TV
nothing.
show. Yeah, he looks at this as a TV show. He would not announce before the cliffhanger, and that's why he won't do that until after.
Well
Yeah,
said.
It's all about him.
Well, right now, I think the pulse of the Republican Party tells me there's a growing chance that they consider him a liability.
Correct.
Right now.
Yeah.
And
Will that matter to him?
well, so now the Democrats need to drive home the things that are causing that to happen. And they've got a few weapons in their belt, and when you've got weapons in your belt, you need to use them whilst they're there.
Yeah, the Democrats can support a Republican candidate.
Well, I think look what's happened in Arizona with who won the primaries. Increasingly, the Republicans are embarrassed by their own party.
Yeah.
And I think that's a positive thing. So the last thing you want to do is give them a cause célèbre right now.
If the premise of that is that the Justice Department is a political organization, and that the purpose of the Justice Department is to help elect Democrats. I'm not sure that's fair.
I'm with you on that. I'm actually not talking about the Justice Department, because I agree with Dennis there that, look, if they believe they can get a conviction on anything, they've got a responsibility to go with it. I agree with Dennis on that. I'm more talking about democratic strategy. What should the Democrats want? Because they're in a good position. They're probably in the best position they've been in for a long time.
Well, yeah, I think that's absolutely the case.
Well, didn't you, Michael, post something on the Gillmor gang Telegram? What's that called, Keith? The
T.me/Gillmor gang. By the way, there is now a new chat icon built into every post. If you click on it, you can have a conversation just about that post.
Yay!
And very good. But didn't you post something, Michael, that talked about how it looked like it wasn't going to be so bad for the Democrats in the
I probably elections. Did. There've been a lot of people talking about that.
I thought I read something.
There is a lot of wind in the Democrats' sails over the last 2 weeks, and for a number of reasons, both negative things hitting the Republicans and positive things hitting the Democrats. So, I think Keith started it off by saying abortion and guns. That's still at the top of the list. And any local ads I've seen around here have all been about abortion. The Republican ads have all been about inflation. But as I said earlier, inflation is becoming a less salient issue, and abortion is becoming a more salient issue as more and more horror stories come to light.
There is this big narrative that's adjacent to this, which is the stock market is up about 50% from the lows, in tech at least. And there's a big debate about whether it's a fake bounce and whether there's a huge collapse coming, which I don't think there is.
I saw one report that said we are now at the cusp of declaring it a bull market again, out of bear, or at least out of bear market territory. It's recovered so much. So if this continues for another week or two, we stop saying bear market.
I listened to Elon Musk had the Tesla annual shareholder meeting this week, and it's streamed live. It's on YouTube. Anyone can go watch it. And it was interesting. He was incredibly bullish. He made the point that 10 years ago, Tesla had produced 20,000 cars. Now they've produced 2 million. And he was asked 10 years in the future, how many will he produce? Oh, no, it's 3 million. And he did the math and said, well, it'd have to be 300 million to keep the same rate. And he kind of went and looked at the camera and stroked his chin. And he said, no, I think we could do 100 million easily, though. And then he started talking about Optimus, the domestic robot that they're building, which apparently they're going to reveal more about next month. And he said that he thinks that business will be bigger than Tesla. And you know, you listen to the guy, and anyone really at the cutting edge of innovation, they're very optimistic and bullish about what they're doing based on what they see. It's not pie in the sky bullishness. It's kind of hands-on, execution-driven bullishness.
That's great.
Not quite anyone. I think Mark Zuckerberg.
One at a time. I can't hear both people talking.
I just wanted to say not quite everyone. I think Mark Zuckerberg is a little nervous right now.
Yeah. The thing I would say is that Musk's calculation is very much like trees growing to the moon, which isn't going to happen. A better way to analyze this is that in North America, we're building about 17 million cars a year. And there are about 285 million gas guzzling cars on the road, which need to be replaced by electric cars. If you do the simple math, 285 over 17, you get about 16 years. Now, certainly you will increase the number of electric vehicles being built because number one, they're simpler to build. Number two, there are a lot of manufacturers coming into the space next year, the year after. Ford, General Motors, Porsche, Aston Martin, any car company worth its salt has an electric car or two or three. Not even mentioning, Kia. You own a Kia. So I think as an industry, we could see 100 million cars being built. I don't think Tesla's going to do it by themselves. So your comment about robots and that business bears looking at, because that seems like more of a green field.
You know who just got into the robot business is Amazon. They bought iRobot.
No, they've been in the robot business for a decade.
Well,
they're gonna.
They had a little robot dog, and they certainly use robots in their warehouses. But in terms of planting robots in people's houses, that's where they want to be next. Imagine that you not only have microphones in people's houses, but you have mobile cameras scurrying around the entire house.
I want to go back to Mr. Musk, because it sounded like the earnings call was great, very positive. He's upbeat. If he's that upbeat, just go ahead and buy Twitter for what he said he was supposed to buy it for, and it'll all work out for him, right?
Yeah. Well, they should worry about making sure that our base on Mars is being taken care of.
What?
There was a story that was on t.me. Gillmor gang about somebody who was at that very meeting, at the Tesla meeting, who stood up and said, "I'm a Marine and I'm protecting our base on Mars."
No.
I know. I'm just saying.
I think he was looking for a job. It was a job pitch.
Okay. What else? And we're gonna run out of time soon.
Well, you guys started out talking about Twitter Blue, like early. is Twitter actually making any revenue moves that are gonna make sense or gonna actually pay off? Forget the Elon stuff. Who is buying subscriptions to Twitter Blue? Is the trend their friend, or is it, they're just trying anything to try to make money?
I think their challenge is, do they have enough worth paying for?
Who wants to pay for something they're used to getting for free? That's their biggest problem.
Well, you would pay to get rid of things that come with the free that you don't want. That's the main driver, I think. People are paying to remove stuff they don't want rather than for paying for stuff they already get. But which is different to say Substack. Substack, I'm finding that little by little every month, I start paying one more newsletter writer because they're good enough that I want to see their paid stuff. And I probably pay 4 or 5 of them now. So Substack, it feels to me, is more likely to attract money for subscriptions than Twitter.
Can I ask you just a follow-up on that? Why do you think you're willing to pay? Is it because Substack is doing a really good job of kind of being your funnel and funneling folks to you that you're more likely to subscribe to, or are you searching for this stuff? How is it working?
Well, I've done a couple of things. I've turned the Substack app into a reader for more than just Substack stuff. It lets you subscribe to RSS feeds. So if you have the Substack app, you can't do it in the app, but you got to go to their website, which is, you go to inbox.substack.com, logged in, and you'll see that at the bottom you can subscribe to RSS feeds, which means that the Substack reader can become your primary reader for a lot of things you're interested in. I used to use Feedly for that. The Substack app is a way better mobile app than the Feedly app is. So then the second thing is, they call out the stuff I subscribe to, even free subscriptions. It gets elevated in the feed. And so I notice it more and I click on more things. But the ultimate answer to your question is, the people are kind of making me think. I generally wouldn't pay for news, but I will pay for analysis and opinion if it makes me think. Because then I benefit from reading it in a way. It's
basically a time compression value proposition. The newsletters, you can cover the general flow of political and technology, etc., media news via the cable media, but it's way too time insensitive. If you isolate and figure out 4 or 5 voices, there's a columnist, if you will, on Substack, Heather Cox Richardson, who she's a good writer, and she's she's a professor of history, I think, at some
she is
university, but as a compression of all of the political news of the day, you can read her and you don't have to watch the TV that she is scraping and basically analyzing.
We have breaking news, by the way. We have breaking.
Professor Richardson is just.
Let me finish the point, Frank.
Senate panel thing? The Senate?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
So the Senate has passed the sweeping tax climate package after the marathon vote, with Harris breaking the tie. We expected it, but there you go.
Well, good. All right.
So that's what the I think the fundamental value proposition is of the newsletters, is it's becoming a space where you can get a directed opinion from people that you rely upon to save you time in terms of these issues. So I think if you went and analyzed the 4 or 5 people that you've added, Keith, in recent weeks, that would be part of the value proposition. And I think that the Substack app is the leading edge of a move from web app to iOS app, which brings in the potential for mini apps inside of that environment, which I think is going to be the key to what they call super apps in terms of the WhatsApp, I believe, has an ecosystem that revolves around it, which many of the current platforms are struggling to try and move from an advertising-based model or a clickbait model to something like what Substack is enabling. It's not clear whether Substack is going to have enough leverage to be able to lead that parade, but they certainly are executing from a very small basis in a very effective way.
I've found myself actually paying for a few writers that I really enjoy reading, and I started out with I'm just not going to do that. I won't do that. I'll search out what I want, but I've found myself doing it with 2 or 3 people that I really care about.
I think it in some ways circles back to what we were talking about when we started talking about these streaming platforms. It's a combination of all of these things, but at the core is the ability to attract talent that will put up great content.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it is a solid app, absolutely solid app for writers and readers. It's got a great UI. They're bringing good people in. They're very good to their writers, and they are very good to their readers. So, I think everything that Keith said and everything that Steve said is stuff that I endorse. It all works.
So why did that not happen on Twitter when they were buying Review? And I remember there was a lot of excitement around that. And then with Twitter Spaces, and
the importance of Twitter's energy in this area is to create the market. Just one company does not create the market; 2 does. So
also Twitter is just very diffuse, and Substack is clear and simple. You get it. With Twitter, it's very hard to get. People don't grok Twitter easily. They've got spaces and reviews and tweets and coming up with notes, which is going to be a competitor to Substack and a competitor to Medium. Very hard for people to who use Twitter to know what they're looking at.
That's true. My issue with what Twitter's doing, first of all, we have to wait till October. Secondly, I think Musk is completely right.
Still holding on to that October.
Yeah, I'm not leaving it. Put it that way. I'm continuing to subscribe to the idea.
Oh, God. I did say that. Wow.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All right, Michael. I would just say one thing.
Hang on a second before you interrupt me some more. No, just hang on a second. What's going on with with what Musk said about moving to some composite element of subscriptions and advertising, I think he's absolutely right about that, regardless of what you think about him or his other companies or whatever. He knows what he's talking about there. It's not an easy task to get there. And I think that the elements are in place, as I think Michael is suggesting. The elements are in place to be able to make a business out of that. Whether or not it's going to be sustained by Substack as the leader in the market or not, I have no idea.
Part of it has to do with trajectories and where you come from and where you're headed to. So Twitter is really a chaos in terms of what you find there, who's there, how you find them, what is promoted to you through their algorithm, what people don't understand about lists. You can curate your Twitter feeds. It's all a mishmash. And besides the Twitter feeds, there's the audio side of it, there's the notes side of it, a mess, a complete mess. Substack is clean. It's clean every way you look at it.
Brent, I interrupted you. What were you trying to say?
Are you kidding? I forgot about it.
I was hoping.
That was a long time ago. But I will say this about, I think what people think about Twitter is already baked in, them trying to add things or change things. It's really hard to change people's opinion once they've solidified it for what you are. So
that sounds like the whole Biden question.
Well,
Yeah, I agree with that, Frank. I think Biden's going to, if his health holds out, he's going to be renominated and reelected.
That would be a shame.
It is hard to change,
Why
but
would that be a shame?
if you apply the right energy, you can. You can remember when Amazon was a book company. They sent you books by mail. And I can remember Dave Weiner once writing when they started to expand their business, saying they've just ruined the brand because now we don't know what Amazon is. Well, they figured a way around that by building it out slowly.
By dominating the world, yes, that's true.
Yeah. No, I think it would be a shame for Biden to run for a second term, because I think he has a unique opportunity right now to make history and become the greatest one-term president in history.
Well, that may be true, but I don't think that's going to happen.
And that's
I think he should.
I was going to pose.
I have an opinion which I will not say because I've vowed not to talk about Biden's second term until we get past the midterm. Then you can ask me.
Hey,
I empathize with Dennis completely. I mean, in fact, I was even hoping Biden might already announce that he doesn't intend to run and start, working with N number of potential candidates.
Not before the midterms. He may very well do that, but not before the midterms. Then suddenly that becomes the story. And the Democrats can't afford any story but the midterms.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. I think the roadmap, the game plan for Biden is to do what Keith's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think that what's going to happen is, I mean, I didn't think that Biden was going to be the nominee last time.
Biden right now looks an awful lot like the latest American Cincinnatus.
I think that you're underestimating the ability of people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and a whole bunch of people who are suddenly seeming to be able to figure out how to make Congress work for about 5 minutes.
They can continue to make it work.
Yes, they can. But, why would Biden, people vote for president, they vote for somebody. Voting for anybody but doesn't often turn out that way. I mean, nobody bought Hubert Humphrey as president. I mean, you're talking about a Lyndon Johnson abdication of power in this year or next year. I don't buy it.
Just the opposite, Steve. What I'm talking about is campaign pledges was to be a position.
You're breaking up.
Somebody who could get us from Trump and baby boomers, of which he is one, to what happens next in American public life. He has the chance to orchestrate that and to put the Democrats in a very favorable position for multiple election cycles going forward.
I totally agree with your premise. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
Well, let me say this, Steve. The difference between Biden's situation and LBJ's is that LBJ was run out of town. LBJ abdicated because he saw he was losing.
Yeah, I don't think Biden's going to be run out of town.
That's why I think Dennis is onto something. If I don't want to talk about this, but if Biden stops after one term, it will be on completely different terms than LBJ.
Talking about
I completely agree with your premise.
If he does it, he will be doing what Dennis says he will be doing, and I say no more.
He will look a lot like Teddy Roosevelt too.
And that's important.
It is. Teddy Roosevelt ushered in the.
He's one of the four on the mountaintop, right?
Yeah, right. 3 over from Trump.
You know, at a certain point in your life, you realize that
Trump's position is an NFT.
There's nothing more pleasing than helping somebody else be important. You know, if you can see value in helping somebody else get into that position.
Yeah, there has to be somebody else.
There has to be someone. You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
Like I
and
said, not happening.
And it isn't Kamala, I don't think. So I don't see who it is either. That's
But
probably
if
the
it's
biggest
not
weakness.
Kamala, then that's a very bad signal for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, who's that guy that runs that? The
So
governor
who's going to
of
make that
California?
point?
The governor of California.
Newsom is doing some
Gavin Newsom.
interesting stuff, but
But that's the thing.
That's
And,
the
you know,
next
if there's a vacancy in
election.
the White House, you have a scrum in each party. Biden can control the scrum. He can say, let's see what Gavin Newsom can do. Let's see what Kamala Harris can do. Let's see what Amy Klobuchar can do. Let's see what a couple other people can do. And he could orchestrate a pre-primary. He could lift these people up, and the voters could have the opportunity to say, good choices. I'll take this one.
okay.
The test I do for myself is, given that I know she won't run, I always say, is there anyone who would be better than Michelle Obama? And if anyone better than Michelle Obama comes up, they'd be awesome, because she's awesome.
You know that she came in second in the CPAC poll. They asked who they thought the Democrats would nominate. Michelle Obama was high up on the list.
Yeah.
Folks are really living in the past.
Mhm.
I mean,
Exactly.
It's a lack of creativity. For sure.
What Hillary is going to run next? I mean, oof.
Gavin Newsom.
No, I think if Biden would have an issue with Black women voters if he were to say, I'm not going to run, but I'm not going to step behind Kamala Harris. That's going to cause some issues there. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well,
let's get Stacey Abrams, into a job first.
Yeah.
but what the truth is, do any of us, is anyone here that actually thinks Kamala Harris, were she to run, could win? I don't think she's good enough.
It's Kamala. It's Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala. What did I say?
Kamala.
Well, I have a Yorkshire accent, so I flattened my vowel.
Well, but what's Brent's excuse?
I was just going along with the crowd, apparently.
All right. Last thoughts, starting with Michael.
A couple weeks ago, Dennis recommended a great book. Thank You for Your Servitude, which at the time was sitting on my bookshelf. I had bought it, but I hadn't read it, and I have since read it, and I endorse it.
And the name is?
Thank You for Your Servitude. It's a story about it's actually the view from inside the Trump Hotel of all of the Republicans and how they fell into Trump's orbit.
And lost their souls.
And lost.
Who wrote that book? Was that the guy from the AP, the White House guy?
His name is Leibovich, I believe.
Yes,
Mark,
and it is so well written. It's full of delicious snark all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
So
He was,
you know,
he was a
it's a
Times
juicy, it's a
reporter.
juicy book. It's not at all a dry book. It's a
Love
great,
snark.
enjoyable read.
Love snark.
Frank Radis.
Read Daniel Silva's Portrait of an Unknown Woman if you like really good fiction. He's a terrific writer. He's married to Jamie Gangel, who's a reporter at NBC, who's actually on the rise at NBC and that whole new regime of Chris Licht over there. He's a great writer. He used to work at NBC also. He's written a bunch of books with a terrific character who is an Israeli Mossad agent. It's just really a good book, worth reading.
Brent Leary.
Shout out to all the Facebook folks.
Yeah.
We realized 96 comments from Facebook and kind of being led by Ian Waring, but 96 comments. That's pretty good.
It's very good.
Question mark and the Mysteriums. 96 comments.
Tears, but thank you.
Oh, tears. Sorry.
That's 40 for rock and roll references, Alex. All right. Dennis, last thoughts.
I'm really glad to see the Senate pass the bill. I think the House will follow suit shortly. Maybe we'll be talking about it next week. This is a game changer. It's one of the most important things we as a society can do, and it in some ways it makes me think that this kicks off the 21st century for America.
I think Joe.
By the way,
Joe Manchin is coming.
there was a lot of anxiety toward the end of last year and the beginning of this year because the second reconciliation bill had stalled. In a way, it's much better for the Democrats to get something passed now when we're close to the election than it would have been if they had passed it last December.
More momentum.
Big Mo.
So Baratundi
Thurston.
who I've seen on MSNBC and other news channels. He's billed as a comedian, but he's a crackerjack political analyst as well. Is in the, where is it, in these new comments capability on the Telegram feed, offering an alternate view to the idea that Manchin, basically he said, have you seen this? What Manchin had to do in order to be able to pull this deal off. I think if you put the two articles together, one that Michael posted and one that Baratundi posted, you get a full range of how incredible Joe Manchin's abilities as an elected official are in this country. It's really miraculous what he did. I mean, basically, he made a deal because he was the only one in the position to make a deal for the people who were opposed to the climate change.
Who are those people? Who are those people other than himself and Sinema?
Republicans.
Yeah,
Well,
Republicans.
he didn't get any Republicans.
Captains of industry. All I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, he pulled together with Chuck Schumer, God help us, he pulled together a deal which is going to it's going to set back the progressive agenda in some ways, but it's also going to empower the future of the Democratic Party.
It doesn't set back the progressive agenda. It postpones it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with it.
Look, I said this. I said it in December when the Build Back Better bill blew up. I said, so what is going to happen is that eventually Joe Manchin is going to tell us what he will accept, and that's what they will pass.
Well, you were right. Congratulations.
And it just took a while.
Okay, good. Well, it's
Here we are.
just in time, evidently.
Yeah,
We'll
wherever
see.
you go.
We'll
there you
see what
are.
happens here. That's right. Keith, last thought.
So, in terms of viewing material, you have to watch this week's Orville. It's the most philosophical Star Trek-ish ever. It includes discussions about it features a woman from a pre-21st century planet who gets on the ship and discovers the replicator and starts asking questions like, do they get paid? And they said, no, we don't have money. Do they have countries? No, we don't have countries anymore. So how do you enjoy life if you don't need to work for money? And discussions about what it was that makes life good. It was a fantastic episode. And it included robotics because one of the
was this a John Lennon song?
it could have
It's a
been
blockchain.
I think
I
it's
haven't
about
seen
five.
it.
It's like
I have-
5 John Lennon songs all mixed together.
I haven't
It sounds-
seen it yet.
As you describe it, it sounds like Imagine.
Yeah, but well, there's a lot of Imagine in it, but it's also much more concrete. Kind of, it draws on a lot of the Enlightenment, scientific objectivism, all kinds of stuff. But it's really good for a comedy
what's the
show.
title?
For a
What's the
comedy
name
show,
of it?
it was very deep. The Orville.
Yeah,
It's
it's good.
It's
What
this week's
network?
episode. And then the second thing is an English movie called The Duke, which is about the taxi driver who stole a painting of the Duke of Wellington in a kind of a working class rebellion against the British government. It's Helen Mirren and Jim Broadbent play the roles of the husband and wife in the middle of it. It's fantastic. It's on Apple TV.
And what was the first one channel? The first
The
one?
Orville is in Hulu. Right?
Hulu. Yeah.
I get it on Disney Plus over here.
Yes. Well, they own Hulu.
Yeah.
In the UK, they've combined Hulu and Disney Plus into Disney Plus.
There you go. And wherever you go.
There you
So
are.
even Jenny watched the Orville with me
Can you
last
say that
night.
another couple of times?
Jenny hates.
Well, I don't think anyone heard it the first time. So
Oh,
I was saying, my wife Jenny watched Orville with me last night, and she hates sci-fi and came out saying it was fantastic. So if she liked it, it's very high bar.
it sounds like my wife. Every time I have to go watch a sci-fi show in the other room, maybe I'll try and watch the Orville with her tonight. Is it the last episode or just?
No, I think there's one more. The problem is you got to give people context. If they've never watched it before, there's like 4 seasons, so you don't really know the history of the roles. If you know the history of the roles, it all comes together in this fantastic philosophical discussion.
And I never realized that number 1 was Rebecca Romaine Stamos. So I didn't get that for like a long time.
So I mean, so I'll tell if
are we really going to spoil or alert everything?
No, that's not a spoiler.
No, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll tell you this. In episode 1, season 1, which is now going back how many years, Frank? Probably 7 or 8.
5, 6 or 7, I guess.
Basically, the husband and wife team who run the ship, wife cheats on the husband with an octopus-like alien who can do things that humans can't do. And they get divorced. And later in the episode, the husband has an affair with another alien and has a daughter.
There goes Brent.
So this thing is basically philosophy mixed with comedy, mixed with irony. It's really funny.
Mixed with
And
sex,
good.
apparently, too.
And
Yes.
and it stars the Family Guy.
Yeah, but basically, and they say shit and fuck a lot. So it's like it's
Oh
true,
boy, this is getting better and better, Keith. Now
All right.
we're going to stop, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
stopping.
Thank you. All right. Thanks to our.
Wait a minute. Brent didn't give us a closing thought.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you
Did
did.
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Thanks.
must have missed it.
Thanks to our producer and director, Tina Chase Gillmor.
Hey, good show, great show, wonderful Sunday. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the audience. it was really an awesome chat, and in the comments on Facebook at least, and just really a pleasure to see people coming in, and love it.
All right, so I'm not going to say individually thanks to everybody because we have already done that. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you guys. Gotta go.
This is a
See you
random,
Friday.
by the way.
Goodbye.